right. See everybody settling down. Good morning, everybody. My name is Yoni Tietz. I am an Android developer here in Trainline in Win the Commute team. Thank you, Bart. I'm very happy to see you all today in this morning for my talk. And today I will speak about, why developers should see user analytics daily. And I will be breaking the big data we have of our users into small everyday actions we can do to improve ourselves and our product. And that's me again. So what we'll talk about today, we'll talk about why you should care about user analytics. I'll speak about my experience with user analytics, the benefits of viewing those user analytics for us developers, and really for everybody else who is using the product. What are some of the tools that we can use to view and to aggregate this data, and how we can implement those things that we just learned on our everyday work routine. So let's start. So why should you care about user analytics? You might be saying, well, Yoni, I have an analytic team, I have my product. There are only people who should care about that. I just, get the code, tell them what to do, and I'm doing it. So about that, user analytics is a very powerful tool. We have it translates whatever our users do to useful insights that we can use and implement. It can teach us a lot about our work, about things that we might not understand from just QAing or from looking at our bugs, and it can move us forward and give us this innovation to innovate smarter, to ask the right question, and to understand what's really happening in our product. And of course, the most important thing is that the data wins all arguments. And whenever someone is, arguing with you about what's the right thing to do in your product, you can just show them the data, and you won, basically. And so, if I should make it all short for one sentence, it's good for you. You should definitely look at your data. Listen to Bart. But how did I? And yes, Bart is very yeah, don't listen to this, Bart. But what's my connection with all this analytic stuff? So before I was a developer, I started as a data analyst in a department that previously had little to no data collecting and zero visualization at all. So we really didn't know what was going in our product, what our users are doing with our products. We didn't know our impact. And I found that all our decisions were based on hunches and things that the product did in its previous job. Said, oh, it worked on this product, we should put it in this product as well. It's not necessarily true. And also, when the developers released their code finally to the world, they didn't really care about how the user is interacting with it because they didn't have any way to see it. And the worst thing of all is that the ownership of our developers was just on a steady decline every day, because they just since they have no real connection with the product anymore, they didn't know what's happening and they didn't have any connection to the user, their ownership was just getting lower and lower. And I was a very sad analyst. So I didn't want to be a sad analyst forever. So I did the work, and after a very long process of mapping, creating dashboards, adding tags in websites and apps, and yeah, a lot of work that shouldn't be done by one person, we saw a huge change, not only by the product and the marketing people and everybody else. We saw a huge change in developers as well. They really started to care about the product. They started to have this connection between themselves and the user through the code. And this was through seeing how they're actually impacting the user. So they started to care. We saw way more innovative ideas because right now the developers had this clue of how the user interacts with their code. So they thought, they like this thing, I'm gonna add this thing. And it worked like magic. It came from the developers, and it was really interesting and fun to see. And everybody became more data-driven once they could see and understand the data. Okay, yeah, and of course, better questions that moved us forward. And in short, I became a happy analyst, Yoni. Yeah, I took all those things with me to the job of the developer, and I think it really pushed me through. And if I can sum it up in one very profound and deep sentence, as this one, is that once we understand the impact of our work, we can estimate the weight of it for the organization and our user, and start treating the product as our own. I think it's a key thing. Ownership is a big word that not everybody really understands what it means. And for me, it's treating the product as our own. And I think looking at the data can really push it forward. So some of the benefits, I'm going to list them for you, of viewing the data as developers. So it can boost our ownership, like I just said, increase our innovation, especially as developers. Once we understand our impact, we can push for newer and interesting things that we care about. It can help us to plan for better future, plan our tickets and our advancement in the code for the future. And by the way, it doesn't have to be only about user-facing features. It can also be internal features. You can also measure those, and it will help you push forward whatever you're doing. It helped us to ask better questions, because once we understood what's around us, we can ask better questions about it. We could understand our goals better, because it wasn't just we want to raise something by 20%. It was, you saw specifically the graph, you saw the metric, and you fully understood that. And of course, it made us care way more about our users' experience. Some of the tools that we have right now in the company that we can use to visualize and collect our analytic data. So the first ones that we use mainly in the company for collecting and viewing data would be Google Analytics and Data Studio. We also use Tableau, but I think that Data Studio is a bit simpler, and we can use it with less training as developers. I know that yesterday was a very nice workshop about Tableau, and it's a very interesting tool as well. But anyway, about Google Analytics, we call it GA for short. So whenever you see someone talking about GA, that's what they mean, hopefully. It's our main aggregator of user analytic data. It's simple, it's easy to use. Sometimes can be a little bit hard to understand with all the different tabs and weird graph that it automatically shows, but it's a really, really powerful tool. The data is usually sampled, so the data will not be one-to-one, but what the users are doing. It might be sampled, so don't take the absolute numbers as absolute truth. Google Data Studio, on the other hand, is a visualization tool. Hard word over there. It can be used to present the data we aggregated in a very easy and comfortable way that everybody can understand, and we can work it out and make it flexible in Data Studio. We can make some really easy and nice dashboard. Some examples. So on the right, my right, you can see the data analytics, how it looks in general. This is just some overview that we can check. On the left is a Data Studio dashboard that we made in our team in the Commute that we look a few times a week. It's about specific feature that we pushed out, and we can look at it and get the feeling of what the users are doing with this new feature and how much they're using it. And it can be really, really helpful. Other things we, I think, don't use as much, at least not at the moment, and we can use way more, is A/B testing. So our main A/B testing platform from today, at least in the app, I know we also have Wasabi in some places, but the main one I think is still LeanPlum. We can define some remote configurable variables on LeanPlum, have them in our code, and create A/B testing from remotely. It's way more precise to use A/B testing than just take the data before we release something and take the data after we release something. It's way more precise to do it with A/B testing because it won't be shaken or moved by seasonality. If you saw earlier in the graph I showed, there is like ups and downs. This is seasonality. And for example, we had the train strike that will completely ruin what you're trying to do if you're just comparing what was before and what was after. So A/B testing is a really powerful tool, but don't take it from me. Take it from 2004, Jeff Bezos. And Jeff Bezos in 2004 said, if you double the number of experiments you do per year, you're going to double your inventiveness. But you say, Yoni, it's 2004. Jeff been through a lot since then. What about 2019? Jeff Bezos said, our success at Amazon is a function of how many experiments we do per year, per month, per week, and per day. So don't take it from me, take it from Jeff. I think we can really push our use of A/B testing and it can really benefit us on a daily basis. Last but surely not least is error and bug monitoring. So we mainly use New Relic. We also have some frameworks for Cachelytics and other things. But New Relic, what's really nice about it, we can create dashboards that will include bugs or even changes. Now, on small scales, what's interesting about New Relic, on small scales, it's not being sampled. So if it's like a new feature and the movement is kind of still slow, you can see absolute numbers in New Relic. At some point, for the very large numbers, it will get sampled. But it's very useful to have it and look at it regularly instead of just looking for Crashlytics for something that went wrong or any other framework we use, because we have a lot of small bugs and some things may get lost along the way. One thing that's really important to know is that the data in New Relic doesn't survive forever. Usually it's something between 1 month and 2 months. So it's a very current thing that you want to check on a daily basis. This is a very powerful tool. I have here an example of one we're using in Win the Commute. We'll look at it a few times a week, and if something goes wrong, we can know immediately. Okay, so we spoke about all these new, not necessarily new, but all these cool ideas and things we can learn from viewing those things, but how can we implement it in our recurring ceremonies? So we can incorporate viewing our data with regards to our goals and OKRs in our recurring ceremonies. It can be anything from a daily. It can be in a few specific days. If you not want to do it every stand-up, it can be very useful. We do it in our team. I did it in my old company. It was really helpful, as I just showed. And that's that. About A/B testing, we could use them way more in our code. It's the things, as I said, are really helpful and they get us really good insights and move us forward. My mantra is never release a feature without sufficient usage coverage or data coverage, events and errors. Never release a feature that we can't monitor. If you can't monitor it, you can't really manage it, and you're just walking blindly with your feature, not knowing what's going to happen. You're just going to know when it crashes. You don't really know what the good things it's doing. Give every feature a success metric, and don't forget to eventually check that it actually made you cross that threshold. For example, I made a new feature. I wanted the user impact with it will be like 20% up, or just change at least anything. I will have to 2 weeks afterwards, or 1 week afterwards, and once you reach 100%, to see it even move the metric at all. And if not, you can go back to the drawing board and think of a new idea to move that metric. last but surely not list is be regularly interested in our bugs, error, and user feedback and share it with your team. We have few different frameworks that we see for user feedback. We get wonderful ideas from them because they know what they're missing and they know what they're lacking. So what we're lacking. So yeah, I would definitely advise to look at users' feedback as well. I will leave you with a quote from Peter Drucker, which is one of the forefathers of strategic management and consulting. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. I think it's super true for us as well as developers. Questions? I'm always at table number 11 on the second floor. I come here every day. Also, you can find me in Slack. I'm the only Yoni in this company, so it's pretty easy. So feel free to contact me whenever and about whatever. And yeah, that's all. And thank you very much. You've been wonderful.